Let me play the tune a little bit, and then I'll bust out the whiteboard. So we got. See if I can get that chorus in there. Maybe up here. Okay. Lots to talk about there. Let's take a look at it mentally. So, like I said, the album, they're playing it in F. Really tough to get any, really tough to play those bass notes in that key. So I moved it to the key of E minor. That way I can hit some open strings. That really helps when you're trying to do that. Let's see. Let's talk G major and then relative minor. So let's get G major first. Let's also keep this in mind. It's really just going E minor, A minor, G, C. So if we think about it in G major, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whole step, half, whole step, half. If that's new to you, check out Music Theory 101 on the broadcast guitar videos. G to G. One way to do it is to know that you're going to have one of each letter and then work backwards from there. So we could do it like that today. G, whole step to A, that is a whole step. A, whole step to B, that is a whole step. B, half step to C, that's good, that's a half step, we want that. C, whole step to D. E, D, whole step to E, that's a whole step. E, whole step to F, that is not a whole step, but we need it to be. Just a quick little lesson, you could make this a whole step by doing this, but then look what you did. You destroyed this whole step. So that's a little lesson about why we call things sharp versus flat sometimes. Well, that's not why we do that there. Point being, you can't alter that sixth note to turn the 6 to 7 into a whole step. You got to alter that seventh note by sharping it. E, F, F sharp, that's a whole step. And now we got that nice little half step back to G. Okay. So if you know your chords in your major scale, the first one's major, the second one's minor, the third one's minor, the fourth one's major, the fifth one's major, the sixth one's minor, the seventh is diminished or minor flat 5, and then you're back to the 1. So we could put little symbols there, 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 and there. So you could say the song goes 6, 2, 1, 4 in the key of G. And there's probably a lot of people who do think of it that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it can be helpful to really think about where your home base is, because I don't think you're going to want to end this song like this. You set this like haunting mood, and you're going. So, and you can see it's a little odd to put like the 1 right in there sometimes, like if that's good, because the 1 is kind of indicating your home base. So let's flip it so that, say you went. E minor, make that the 1. So there's another video called If You Know Your Major Scale, You Already Know Your Minor Scale. And again, if you're new to this, don't let it hurt your brain too much. But I'm going to get rid of this guy for a second. But ultimately what it is the relative minor. Every major chord has a relative minor. Every minor chord has a relative major. This is your major. This is its dark, moody cousin, the 6th chord. So what you're doing is you're basically turning that 6th chord into your home bass. So you're using the same chords, but you're moving them around to make E minor the 1, and it looks like this. Let's see. So notice we've got the same ingredients, the same DNA. A, B, C, D, E. So now this would be minor, this would be diminished, this would be minor, this would be minor, and this would be minor, right? Yes. So take a minute, just look at that. You still got this guy and this guy. But now you can just go lowercase because it's minor, lowercase and diminished, uppercase. This one's debatable. I was just chatting with a friend about this. I've seen some people online just put an uppercase 3, but I'm someone who's always thinking like, how does this relate to the major key? Because as you can see, like we start major and then everything's like altering that. Like when we say a flat 3rd, we're really saying like, you know, your 3rd, which is major, and then you're flatting it. So me and a longtime music buddy were in agreement that that's how we think of it, the flat 3. It also helps to think of that and put that flat sign because you see that chord in E major a lot. So I think it helps to put that flat there. So we're calling that the flat 3, the minor 1. I mean, you see a lot of these, you'll see like, I'll hit this one too, minor 5. Same thing right here, I'd go uppercase 6, but I would call it a flat 6. I'd call this a flat 7, and then back to 1. But see if that pops up. Just know that you might see that sometimes without that little flat sign, because technically the 3 chord in E minor is a G major. But I personally like to put the flat there just to really help my brain know for sure what's up. So now we can look at it like this. The song Smells Like Teen Spirit. Nah. At least in my key that we're playing it in, E minor. Doesn't matter what key, you're still going to get that minor 1. Running out of room. Get the major out of there, sorry. Minor 1, minor 4, flat 3, flat 6, repeat. That's how I would analyze that song. Minor 1, minor 4, flat 3, flat 6, resolve back to the minor 1. And again, music theory, I'm always telling you guys, it's like learning a foreign language in a lot of ways. Just think of it like you're listening to a podcast or a radio show or a TV show. You are picking it up. Just trust your brain. Get some of that, even if you're like, whoa, 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 that was way too much. But now let's take a look at it. We got E minor. Now we can really see the level one way. E minor, A minor, G, C, flat 6, minor 1, minor 4, flat 3, flat 6. I'm just playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and da 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 da. So underneath it all, minor 1, minor 4, E minor, A minor, flat 3, which is a major chord, G, and then your flat 6, C major. Let's talk about the notes in those chords. E minor, because you can get a lot of mileage if you just know the notes in the chords, especially as you're taking a solo, kind of like bumper bowling. You see what chord's coming next, and you can just kind of fall into it. E minor is E, G, B. A minor is A, C, E. G is G, B, D. And C is C, E, G. So let's just take a look at this for a second before we start putting that melody in there. E minor. Remember, you can just stack as many of those notes as you want. E, B, E, G, B, E. So E, G, B. A minor, A, E, A, C, E. Notice it's only made of A's, C's, and E's. G, B, and D, I play it like this. G, B, D, G, D, G. I like that one. You could go open, B, whatever. Because remember, G, B, D. And then we're going to C, E, G. C, E, G, C, E. You could throw a G right there. And we will, in this song, E minor, E, G, B, A minor, A, C, E. G, B, D is a G major, and C, E, G is a C major. Okay, that's what's floating through our heads. Look at all that. E minor is the minor 1. You got it. Okay, but you can see we started with G major. If you know your major scale really well, it can really help you, because when I'm playing in E minor, I'm like, all right, F sharp. I know the G major scale more than the E minor scale, I promise. But as I'm playing through it, I'll think like there's a C, B. I'm just kind of thinking half G major, half E minor. Okay. Now, as you've also heard me say, I'm not a huge fan of putting the tab up too much. It's actually not that bad, but it blocks the guitar. But let's talk about what we got here. And I actually wanted to start with the hello, hello part, because I have a note over here saying start with the easy part, which is a tip to you guys. As you're breaking down a song, get yourself an early victory. Start with an easy part if you know what's going to be easy. So I think this is probably the most playable part as we get that melody in there. But take a look at it. It's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I made a typo. I wrote and E. That's a mistake. It should be and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3. So let me break that down for you. What's button? There we go. So what we're really doing is that really cool. That's where the melody gets like even darker, almost has like a Weezer thing going on there. Open G and F sharp. And what we're really just doing is showing you how to move to that bass. So remember, it's E, A. I don't want to go open G, it's too high, so I'd play the G there and the C there. And you can use this middle finger for G and C like this. You can put your ring finger there. Sometimes I use my pinky, but what we're going for is that F sharp. 4th fret on the D, that's an F sharp. And you can hear it real close to that open G. A lot of tension right there. So practice this. I'm gonna hit the bass note. And then A is the bass note. And then G is the bass note. And I'm always playing F sharp, G, F sharp. And then C is the bass note. E, A, G, C. I'm not doing the little pull off yet. A, F sharp, G, F sharp, G, C. If you want to resolve it, F sharp, pull off to E right there. That requires getting a little faster with the hand, so. And right there, I didn't jump right back to the F sharp where I went. You could like that, but I just hit that E again. But again, if you really know your notes in your E minor chord, you could hit that B. That would sound good like this. That's hard to do, but I'm just showing you guys, like, I'm just thinking I'll put the B in there, right there, second fret on the A, because I know that I'm playing over an E minor chord. It's only going to sound good over that chord. Then A, G. I could put it there because there's a B and a G chord. Caught myself leveling too high. Stick with that way. And there's really no, like, it's not an easy leap from the level 1 to level 2. The 2 is pretty darn tough. So we got E minor underneath, minor 1, A minor, G, C, minor 1, minor 4, flat 3, flat 6. Okay, so G, C, and the melody is F sharp, G, F sharp. So that is the hello, hello part right there. All right, sit back for a second, let that soak in. Let me play it a little bit more. Because I was trying to figure out the chorus. We'll get to the verse too, don't you worry. I think what would have to happen is, like, as much as I wish I could play it like a piano and always have a bass note going, there would be times where I would just have to, like, position change, go to like a single note. Right there, we'll get that open in there because it's really helpful to, like, have a moment to move your hand. But, like, if I was finishing, I can already feel I'm gonna have to take a little break to just get up there. Let me try it again because I hit a sour note. Let's see. I would just do something like that. Okay, so keep in mind everything in this song is built out of E. Let's do the G major scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So the only sharp we need to think about is that F sharp. Let's rearrange it into the E minor scale. There are many types of minor scales. This one's called the natural minor. If you're into your modes, it's Aeolian. E, F sharp, G. E, F sharp, G. Let's add another note. E, F sharp, G, A. E, F sharp, G, A, B. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. So let's hit that scale one time. E, F sharp, G. Low E, F sharp, G. Let's just stick down in this first position. Open A, B, C, D, E. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. Let's do another octave. E, F sharp. That's the only place we can get that one. G. Maybe let's do that with the pinky so we stay in position. So let's go E, F sharp, open G, A, open B, C, D, E. So here's two octaves. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. Doesn't sound like much on its own. But that's all the notes using in the melody. It's going to help to know them down here in these first 4 frets because that's how I arranged it for, where is it? This melody part. Let me play that one time. I'll show you how I kind of like think about how to get the bass in there. So I'm going 1 and 2. See if I can maybe stay in frame, but there's too much to look at. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and repeat, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Well, I didn't hit that. Hello, hello. But again, remember how we do the warm-up. Open, low E, we started on today on 1. So underneath it all, we kind of were warming up on this 1 and 2 and 3. And I recommend building up one note at a time, 2, and count out loud, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Just the first measure, 1, and 2, and 3. 2 more notes, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Just showing you how to practice it and learn it. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. So that's how I would learn it. I'm not going to spend too much time doing that, but that's how I wrote it out. And you can see I put no rests because I want to take up space, and I think it's more teachable almost to like have something to do on every beat. 1 and 2 and 3, and you can really see where those chords change, like where you need to hit your bass note. A is on the 3rd beat. Right off the bat, one thing, maybe let's look at that melody a little bit with no bass. So the melody's going B, D, E, G. Get that down. B, D, high E, G. Then it goes E, D, C, I think. B. Bring your friends. C, B, A, G, A, B, A, G, F sharp. So go and take a minute and just get down that, descending the scale. C, B, A, G, F sharp. C, B, A, G, F sharp. So check it out. It goes E, G, E, D, C, B, C, B, A, G, A, B, A, G, F sharp. I was wrong. He doesn't start on C. He goes B, A, G, F sharp. That's like the little run in the scale you're going to want to know. B, A, G, F sharp. And it's cool. You can really see how like these dissonant notes like are hung over from the chord before. So it's not like he goes da, 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 da. Even though that E minor is right there as we talk about analyzing those melodies. That one, that F sharp is totally hanging, causes that cool like E minor add 9 kind of sound, that Pink Floyd chord. So now one more time the melody. B, D, E, G, E, D, C, B, C, B, A, G, A, B, A, G, F sharp. Now look at how we get the bass notes in there. I'm hitting E, E, just to kind of take up some low end. But right there, notice that D note's in the melody when the A minor's happening. So like, if I was gonna play a chord, I'd actually play like an A sus4, like that. I'd go like, da, da. Because if I'm singing it, I want that chord to not clash with that note, which is so huge. You'll notice a lot of these, as much as I was gonna say, I wished, as I said, well, you'll see melodies resolve into the chord, not happening a ton in this song, because when he goes to the A minor, he's hitting a D, which is not in an A minor. So I wouldn't really lean into that C if I was playing over that part, because that C is just gonna like compete with the D note. So I would play like an A sus4 like that. You can hear that's really building suspense. This is what it sounds like if you put a D in all of them. Like finally wants to resolve. Okay, so here's how I arranged it for that tab. So try that. Like, you don't have to only play the stuff as like single notes. You could play your C chord, and I want you guys to play around with trying to like get some melody in your chords, like E, the high E is open, D right there, then C, and then the B is the resolve to that E minor. So he goes. So if I was just kind of like playing it, I would switch between like single note stuff. Like that. Going a little quick. Let's bring it back to level 1 for a second. Remember, underneath it all, it's a minor 1, E minor, minor 4, A minor, flat 3, G, flat 6, C. We're in the key of E minor. E minor is made of E, G, B, A minor is A, C, E, G is G, B, D, and C is C, E, G. So you could also play around with like just some triads. Let's do that for a second before we get into that chorus. So one thing though is like E minor is E, G, B. So I'm playing this in any order I want, which is B in the lowest position. 4th fret on the G is a B. E and G right there. C, E, A, that's an A minor. Then it goes to a G chord, B, D, G, and then C, E, G. However, the reason it's cool to do that is like you can play around with creating some suspense if you know your E minor scale or your G major scale. So like as I'm playing this B, E, G, my pinky can reach that A right there. I could reach back to that F sharp right there. A, when I go to the A minor. And I'll keep it like that. I won't do anything too crazy. Let's just play around with this. Just those kind of notes. G, A, G, F sharp, G. So I could go. Then when I go to the G, this sounds too happy. So I want to put that A on it. And then I do that kind of dissonant reach back to that F sharp right there. So I'm playing a C chord. Da, 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 da. You can kind of hear out too, like it doesn't always sound, like I want to kind of make it as dark as possible. So like when I play this E minor here, I go to the, that sounds dark, those are 2 minor chords, but when I go to the G, I actually like to keep the A as like a hanging over note from the previous chord, this A, C, E. That way it doesn't resolve immediately into that big major chord. And then for that C, and so on. You can play around with it here. What do I need? A G chord? Not many options if I don't move too much, but okay. Couldn't help myself. Let's take a minute and just kind of refresh. E minor, E, G, B. A minor, A, C, E. G, B, D is a G chord, and C, E, G is a C chord. Let's look at the chorus. Let's just do it. All right. Let's see. Remember, we warmed up, played the tune, theorized. Got your level 1, E minor, A minor, G, C. And then play the melody simple. Good. And people ask about ear training. Get a melody that you just know like the back of your hand and find it, you know, like you're 6 years old. See? And then after that, you can see like, can I hit any of those notes while still playing a chord? Yeah, the B is in the E minor. I could reach the D, the E is in there. That's how I do it. All right, that chorus. So the chorus goes G, F sharp, E. Then here's why it's so hard to play, is then it goes up. So like everything I'm doing down here, I can't really do much like that. So I could show you down here, like if I was... Like right away I have to go... And then I've got this open B, which is causing me problems. So here's how I do it. I just take a break from G, F sharp, B and E. Could do that. I don't know if I actually did that though, but let's see. I think I did that. B and E right there, and I have that F sharp there. Could put a G right there, and then that low E makes it minor. So that's one way to do it. G, B, E, and then you can reach that F sharp. Here's how I fret that A minor. A, C, E, A, because I want that high A. Entertain us. Now here's a G chord. G, B, open G, G. So I got, and then I can reach that A right there. And now I have a C chord right here, C, E, G. I need an F sharp so I could reach back, that's hard to do, or I could just put my pinky right there and go. And now I'm back to this shape. That G chord, it's like a little C shape, but I can keep my pinky on that A. And now my C chord, C, E, G, the G, F sharp, and now I just keep the F sharp. And then he does that little turnaround, which is like, E minor, F major I kind of like. E minor, A minor, G. Okay. we go. All right, so kind of an advanced one. That's how I would play Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana. If you stick around for the Q&A, let's talk about that scale a little bit more and talk Nirvana. Hope you had a deep dive into that one. Album cover intended. I'll see you guys in 90 seconds. Let's see. There I am.